Guys, welcome to this week's Sports Chat here at Lovely Jason's Video next to Papa John's. A few things to talk about this week, including what happens Monday, the return of football in full padded practice on the high school level.
It's very close now. I think as of basically today, we're 1 month away from the middle school football season starting, and a month and a day away from the high school jamboree starting. So it's time, full practice, full pads. School starts back in about 14 days or so.
Yeah.
I think 2 weeks from tomorrow. This is Thursday as we're taping this. So it's here. It's football season. Freshmen will be reporting at UT in about a week. Campbell County, I said they've been practicing anyway, but as he said, the full pads come on. Get out of the shorts, get out of 7-on-7. You're running your full football. You're putting in your playbook right now. You're honing your skills because it's time. It's time for football.
And they had a transfer show up yesterday who is bigger than Coach Dan Turner, who is about 6'3" and about 285, 290 pounds.
A huge kid. I mean, he towered over Dan Turner. I'm going to put this guy, I'm going to guess he's 6'5", 6'6", probably 330.
From a tiny town in Indiana moved down here.
He looks like he's going to be a road grader.
And I talked to Dan earlier. He said the kid had good lateral movement.
I mean, I don't know if this kid will come in and start. We're not sure what grade he's in. We'll just have to see where he goes, but get some big line. If he's that size, he's got the strength, if he's got the skill, that offensive line they already have, that just makes it that much easier to run the ball, that much easier to protect Josh Lay, protect Zach Rutherford, Shane Bowman, whomever happens to be back there at quarterback.
From what I gathered from Justin when I talked to him earlier today, we're going to see a two-quarterback system starting out.
I mean, that's not a big surprise to me. You saw that some even during Ethan's sophomore year. Ethan Miller would start occasionally, play a lot. Ethan Miller, if I remember correctly, started and played basically the entire Henderson County game Ethan's sophomore year.
Yeah, and Ethan Miller was he was a superb athlete. His package is not unlike what Josh Lay provides.
Lay is a great athlete. Lay can throw the ball better than Ethan Miller could. I mean, essentially that Ethan Miller game, you ran a lot of option, and that was about it when Ethan was in there. Lay can actually throw the ball, but he can also run the option. Rutherford, I say he's got the big arm, he's got the skills. He just doesn't have the experience right now.
And Shane Bowman's not a bad quarterback himself.
Shane did a good job.
But I have a feeling he's going to transition to receiver.
Shane was a great defensive back in middle school.
Yeah. He was so good that they let him play defensive back, and that's very rare on any level your quarterback gets to see defense.
I mean, he was great. He ran kicks back, too. He was a great kick returner. He's got speed. He's got skill.
He's a good all-around athlete and a really great kid.
He knows how to catch the ball, and that's the big thing why you may see him eventually at receiver. You may not, though. I mean, but what's the other quarterback they had in the pipeline?
They had Clayton Jarrett as well, who
Jarrett
is a receiver normally.
And Jarrett actually looked really good in the spring game. And he's young. He's very young. He's a freshman. Or going to be a rising sophomore. Anyway, he's a young kid regardless. And it's there's some depth at the quarterback position.
There's more depth at the receiver position, I think, than people realize.
We've essentially, in seeing Ethan Jeffers leave, you've lost Campbell County's, Peyton Manning, Campbell County's, dominant quarterback, maybe who may hold every record, because he holds basically all passing records at Campbell County. He may never lose those, or maybe years before he ever loses them again, because of the situation he got in where he could be a 3-year starter. And ideally, you don't really want to see that, but we'll see. It may work out for Rutherford, and Rutherford can end up being a 3-year starter. We'll never know for sure exactly how it's going to work out until the season plays out. And you just hope one quarterback does emerge, and one takes over and cements himself. That's usually the best for the team.
Right. And you might see it where if Zach cements himself as the starter, you might see that package where Josh comes in at the goal line, all Nick Bailey, Trey Torres.
I could see a lot of Josh Lay being there inside the 10-yard line if that's what comes to pass. I could see Josh Lay taking the quarterback job and running away with it and being his the entire year, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good player, and he's so talented, you have to have him on the field somewhere.
Yeah. And if he doesn't start at quarterback, you can guarantee he's going to be making an impact on defense.
He's a big kid. He's like 6'2", 6'3". Got a lot of speed. He's just a very skilled football player, and he'll be on the field somewhere, and we'll see where it's at. Rutherford, of course, as we know, he's got the size. He's 6'3", 6'4", and he just looks like your drop back passing type quarterback. And that's just, that's what he does. It's what he excels at. And the future's looking pretty bright for the next few years for Campbell County at the quarterback position.
And Campbell County, another thing we talked about, they've expanded their coaching staff. They have 11 coaches now. Paul Longmire, who was Justin's first high school quarterback he ever coached, is now working with Josh James at the receivers position. And he provides a lot of help. And Justin was talking about a lot how it makes practice and game management easier.
They brought in a few coaches too that actually teach at Campbell County High School.
Paul will be, I think, teaching history at Campbell County High School.
That just makes it a lot easier because Coach Sieber, he's a great defensive backs coach. Great. One of the best we've ever seen up there.
And the coach that Josh James is afraid to play in golf, from what I understand.
Coach Sieber has a job, and he has to work and build his, his practicing and everything around that time, and it's not as easy as sometimes for him to get there, but he's always there. He always shows up and says he does a great job. Our defensive backs are great under him, but it's just easier to keep an eye on the kids throughout the day and everything when you have teachers at the school.
Right. I mean, even Dan Turner, who's a teacher, doesn't teach at the high school.
That's it. Justin just talked about it was easier to have more coaches at the high school.
It really is.
And being able to monitor and keep up with what the kids are doing throughout the day. And he was happy with whatever, I implicitly trust Justin and Matt to run that football program.
Oh, yeah.
The way a football program should be ran, and you can't argue with their results, which are just unprecedented for this area. Hopefully they become precedented soon, because hopefully they can maintain over a few years this level of success, where you're winning 6, 7, 8 games a year, and you're always in the playoffs or very close to the playoffs. Not return to the Campbell County of old, where hey, let's go 1-9 and be happy we got a win.
See if we can beat Carnes to not be in the basement.
Those days are hopefully long over. Hopefully this is just beginning of Campbell County's a resurgence. And in high school, you can't have fallen off years, and you see it like Powell goes from 2 state championships in a row, or state semifinal, state championship type seasons, to going 1-9 or 2-8. You can happen quickly in high school. If you think about it, you want to have your program maintain a stability in the coaching staff, stability in administration, stability, and Campbell County has all that right now.
It really is, from the top on down. I mean, with watching the central office, it's trickled down to the 2 middle schools, the high school. You see a lot of good stuff coming there.
I don't think even though Wells coached here for a long time, it's not even any remotely a stretch to say this is the most stable environment from the top down that's ever existed.
It is, because with Wells in the equation, you had a lot of turmoil at the top.
A lot of turmoil, central office. There was
administration turmoil.
A moderate amount of turnover in the high school and the principals.
Right.
Through the years. Well, how many principals did Wells see? Probably 3, 4.
Probably 4. And he did a good job laying the foundation, despite all the turmoil he saw.
Wells did he did an excellent job. He tailed off at the end, but that's just.
Well, that was one of the things you just see it drop off.
Campbell County sometimes, but Wells did great things. There's no disputing that at all, and he just didn't have the stability all the way around him that the process had now. And hopefully that remains in place, and great administration all the way through from the central office down to the assistant coaches that are out there. That's good an environment as I've seen ever for football.
And like I said, it's so good to see an actual student transfer in that looks like he can make an impact. That didn't happen before. I'm sorry. We've been around Cougar football a long time.
We don't lose kids anymore, and we actually gain some big time kids. And that's when your program is doing great. Now, people have fairly short memories, and right now the perception of East Tennessee isn't the great Campbell County from 8 6, 7, whatever years ago, or the 90s and the 80s, where you're 0-10, 0-10, 1-9, 2-8, 0-10, 3 wins is a great season. That's now it's all you see at Campbell County. You're on TV, they're on the news. You got all-state players. You're winning 9, 10 games a year. You're going to the playoffs. You're advancing in the playoffs, and that's the perception now. And I think that in one of our football videos, a couple of years, from like a year or two ago, before the season, Matt Price said it best. He said perception is reality.
Yeah.
And the new
In fact, I'm actually going to repost that video next week to start getting people ready for football season.
The perception of Campbell County's football is the reality of Campbell County's football now. It wins. People want to play for it. It's fun. And it's expected to win now. I mean, everybody around here, thinks that Campbell County's going to the playoffs. And it's just something that was unimaginable for years. Even during Wells' best year, the playoffs were just shocking still. And it's like nobody could believe that we're actually doing it.
And we've actually moved on to where we made it to the second round of the playoffs. Now, well, the logical next step is we got to make it to the third.
And I love Ethan Jeffers. He may go down as the best player I've said that's ever played at Campbell County. But what Campbell County is building right now is a better and better defense each year. And eventually, those great defenses will carry you further into the playoffs and further into the playoffs. And not that the defense did bad last year. They had a great year last year for the most part, but Seymour got a lot of points up in that game. I mean, Ethan came out, and the offense, the receivers, the running backs, the line did well, and put a lot of points up against South Doyle, but couldn't get enough stops at the time it needed stops. But the defense is getting deeper, better every year, and the offensive line is getting deeper and better every year, and that's where you build your program around.
And it's building up really well. I mean, we're lucky enough to get to see a lot of stuff during the off season, behind the scenes, that most people don't even realize. That weight program they have going, for example.
So we're getting in now, and it's 4 or 5 years in, and just I'm not talking about improvement over last year. The team may go back a little because that is the impact of it. Ethan Jeffers and Trey Torres and Paul Coral and Spencer Roberts and Patrick Wright and those just all the seniors who just anchored the team for years. But it's just the overall health of the program, the number of players, the strength, the size, everything about that program is better now than it was 4 years ago. By just leaps and leaps. That's just an amazing thing to me. It's great to see, and we're living. If you're getting to watch Cougar football right now, you're living basically in the glory days of Cougar football.
You are. I mean, there is literally no doubt about that. Switching gears to college, we just found out that 2017 UT opener is going to be at the new stadium in Atlanta against Georgia Tech, which I find kind of exciting because I always enjoy Georgia Tech's brand of football.
We'll see if they still have Paul Johnson as their head coach at that time. If so, it'll be a lot of option. He's really an excellent coach. He still runs the option. Does it pretty well, has a high level of success. Georgia Tech was a long-time rival. We actually have played them more than we had played Georgia until the SEC East formed. And we kind of dropped them off the schedule there in the late 80s. We used to play Georgia Tech every year. I mean, they were a long-time member of the SEC or the Southern Conference from 1933 all the way up to the 1970 or so when they left and went to the ACC. And Georgia Tech had a lot of great years. There were many years in the 50s. Georgia Tech and Tennessee were ranked number 1 and 2 in the country. And basically would play for the national title almost every year. And Tennessee had some memorable victories over them, and they had a few memorable victories over Tennessee. And just the SEC level. I mean, it's a long-time rivalry. It played up through the 80s, and if you're our age, you remember being a kid, Georgia Tech being a big rival.
And of course, we've got UT, like I said, about to start up themselves with practice, freshman reporting.
Most of them have been there probably for summer school, but officially freshmen will report the first week of August. You'll start seeing practice firing up. You'll be in pads, and it's just here. It's ready to go. SEC Media Days just concluded. Tennessee, by the media, was picked to finish second east behind Georgia. They put them 7th overall in the SEC. Auburn's picked to win the SEC. Alabama was picked to win, be second in the West. and be the second best team in the SEC. I want to say Arkansas was picked third in the West.
Arkansas is loaded this year.
Hey, look.
It's basically the top 7 are 5 West teams, and Tennessee and Georgia, or Georgia and Tennessee, however you want to look at it. Basically, a big shift from the 90s, of course, occurred around the Florida was always really good, but especially the last 6-7 years, the power in the SEC shifted over to the West. It used to be, Florida or Tennessee. Whoever won that game was winning the whole thing. And it's just now it's basically Auburn, Alabama, LSU, even the Mississippi schools have gotten a lot better. Of course, Arkansas is doing really well. Texas A&M has a lot of good seasons. And the East is down. I mean, Missouri stepped into the league and won the last 2. Right now, I mean, everybody said Missouri wouldn't have a chance last year, and they came out and won the East again.
Of course, part of the East is probably have Kentucky and Vanderbilt in it.
Well, I mean, they're always a drag. Kentucky will be better this year. They started out 5-0 last year and then collapsed and ended up being 5-7 on the year, which I thought was fantastic. They missed a bowl again and had an epic meltdown, because nothing better than Kentucky than an epic meltdown. I mean, it was basketball season started by that time. They didn't care. But Vanderbilt, their program's back on the toilet where it should be. I mean, they're awful. Steve Spurrier has just become a crotchety, crazy, ranting, raving.
Oh, yeah. I mean, wow, his press conference the other day.
It's good for the league, I guess, to have him out there being crazy. I mean, you gotta have somebody like that in the league. Nick Saban's
Nick Saban's just like that evil mastermind that doesn't talk.
But Nick Saban's in his mid-60s now. Hopefully, he's ready to retire. I mean, he's 65 years old almost and has $50 million. Hopefully, his motivation to keep going is about over. And Mark Richt, he's vanilla. He's Phil Fulmer, made over, but without the championships. He's Phil Fulmer without the championships, basically. So he's not a big threat. I mean, the best young coaches in the league are, of course, looks like Butch Jones, the way Butch recruits. And Kevin Sumlin at Texas A&M is a good young coach. I mean, Les Miles is up in his 60s, so LSU's.
How old's Malzahn?
Malzahn, he's a younger man. He's around 50, so he's also a good young coach. Spurrier's 70 years old, so he's going to be able to be gone for too long. I don't even know anything about Florida's new. He's in his mid-50s and never had any success anywhere. But you can be successful at Florida because you're always going to have good athletes there.
Right.
I mean, he's probably a pretty good coach. I mean, I'm not going to trash him that much. We'll see. I mean, everybody thought Muschamp would be a good coach too. I mean, he was good enough to beat Tennessee, unfortunately, all those years, but he was pretty terrible otherwise. Brett Blema, he's not that old either. He's a young coach at Arkansas. Bring that power running game. And Arkansas is going to have a big offensive line. They're going to pound it, and they're the kind of team that when they're able to run the ball, if you don't have a great defensive line, you're going to have a hard time beating them. So there's a mix in the league, but I'll say a lot of the people who've been on top of the league, like Alabama, LSU, and those types, their coaches are pretty old, and hopefully we'll see some changing of the guard. It's hard to ever find a successful coach. And you're not going to find anybody as successful as Nick Saban. It's just not going to happen. Alabama's got strange expectations. I know that people say Tennessee does, and people can say whatever. Alabama would hire guys after Bear Bryant left who would win 10 games a year. And this was a time when you played 11 regular season games. They would be 10-1. But that 10-1, 9-2, 10-1, 8-4. Oh, you're fired. You're out. 8-4. We don't do that here. They did it 3 coaches in a row until they got Gene Stallings, who won a championship, and then he was able to retire out of Alabama. Basically, if you don't win the national championship at Alabama, you're out. SEC championship doesn't matter. 10 wins doesn't matter. And that's the way their program is. As bad as I hate to say it, probably the best in college football history at this point with their extra championships. I mean, Michigan may make a claim to it, but most of what happened with Michigan happened between 1900 and 1950. Notre Dame's the same case. Most of their success happened between 1910, 1920, when Newt Rockne came, in 1975, 1980. I mean, Alabama pretty much won a championship in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, multiple in the 60s, multiple in the 70s. Didn't many in the 80s, one in the 90s, and multiple in the 2000s. I mean, I hate them. They're filthy scum, but they win.
Yeah, and it's hard to argue with those results.
Otherwise, in the sport in front, I say soccer's getting ready to pick up. Any fall sport.
Soccer, volleyball,
cross-country,
cross country, golf.
Girls soccer, we should say.
Yeah, girls soccer. Men's soccer's a
Spring sport.
spring sport. And I'll be in touch with Coach Lastly soon about setting up some girls soccer stuff.
Every sport's practicing right now, though.
I actually talked to Matt Housen
Not
today, and
really
he was
official practice.
talking about how the basketball team, they've lessened the restrictions so the coaches can be a little bit more active with their players now.
Well, that's good. I mean, you don't want the players to have to feel under the pressure of having to go to practice year-round. But most of the players actually want to get better and
Right.
are in the gym shooting. I mean, it's fun. I mean, back when I played basketball, if you weren't, playing officially or practicing officially, I would shoot baskets at home or go somewhere and play with other people. You just like to do it. And if the coach can be there and give you pointers, and maybe, he can give you a pointer on maybe not do this, you won't get hurt. Because, people play different styles when the coach is not around. Any little thing helps. And it's rare to see the TSSAA make a ruling that's going to actually benefit students.
Right, because they're a terrible lot.
So I'm glad to see that. And I'm excited for the Cougar basketball this year. Like I say, you got great young players in Stretch and
Elijah, Phillips.
Elijah, Jackson, and Porter. Just a bunch
Oh
of
yeah, Porter and his growth spurt.
bunch of big guys. It's gonna be exciting. I love to watch them run. They get up and down the court, get after it, and Coach Halsey is adjusting his style, as he told us, as we spoke about last week. Excited for the girls, and Brad Honeycutt, I know he'll put a good product on the floor.
And he also has a big transfer student, it looks like.
Okay, he got a big girl come in. They needed this height desperately bad. They didn't have much size. I mean, Jessica Stanley's tall, but she's skinny, and
she's got some knee issues.
she's had some knee issues in the past. The basketball girls level is demanding on their knees. It's a tough sport. I mean, we've watched over the years. Amber Young hurts her knee. Jessica hurt her knee. Amber Guy had some injury issues.
Yeah, I mean it's
You get in the post in the girls basketball, it's hard on them.
it is, and this is not a sexist comment. The girls have a weaker set of ligaments in their knees than guys do.
Yeah, that's why you
That's
see
medical scientific fact.
large amount of ACL injuries in the basketball girls. But I expect everything to be good this year. I'm really excited. I'm just excited for school to be starting back and all the sports to be starting back.
As much as we like laying in the pool in the summer, it's really fun to go to these events.
I have fun year round because of Cougar athletics and Tennessee football and NFL and fantasy and pretty much my only time of year I really am not particularly pleased about from April through pool opening. It gets kind of tedious.
Yeah, I mean, because spring sports have wound down at that point.
Yeah. Cougars having that May spring football helps out and gives you a little boost toward the end.
Oh yeah.
But otherwise, that's about it going on. And I say everything's getting ready to crank back up. Rainy day outside today, and
It's a good day to come down to Jason's video and get some.
be out.
Not that you'll see this today.
Whatever day you're seeing this on,
It's always a good day to come to Jason's video,
Jason's
Papa John's
video,
Pizza.
Get yourself some Papa John's.
And there's 2 new locations of Jason's video about to open, so
We'll have
it'll be even
details on those
closer.
when they do. And like I say, the sporting season coming up. Grab a pizza, go to Papa John's, have Papa John's bring you a pizza, lay around and watch sports because it's football season.
Fans, we'll see you next week.